Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question, and a few of these are about different YouTubers and smaller channels, so I thought I'd answer them. Hi Jason, I'm personally friends with Jason Genova. He was wondering if you're competing in the Ruby Classic. Well, I don't know why Jason just wouldn't ask me himself. Competing in the Ruby Classic, I don't know what powerlifting meet that is. I've never heard of it. I'm really not familiar with it. I'm assuming that's a powerlifting meet of some type over in Florida. No, I don't plan on making it out to Florida this year, and I don't plan on doing any powerlifting meets this year. I feel like I need the rest of this year to get leaner, recomp, get my base back up after that injury, get my squat back to 500, things like that, and I might not even reach the 500 squat again this year. So no, I'm not going to be doing any meets, so no actual powerlifting meets this year. And I've never heard of that. I'm only going to probably stick with one fed most of the time here in the US, unless I go mess with some of the strength lifting and stuff also. So I don't even know what federation does that or what sort of meet it is or anything. So pretty unlikely. Pretty unlikely. Something like that doesn't sound like a local Texas state meet or a national meet. So I probably wouldn't do that. Like, it would generally say nationals, or it would be like the Texas state meet or the Florida state meet. So some sort of regional thing like that that's not near my region, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't bother. So absolutely not. All right, next question. When are you going to address Marc Steubing's existence? You won't be able to ignore him for long. His channel is quickly gaining in popularity, and people are noticing that he's a devout follower of yours. Actually, I do talk to Marc. He is on my actual friends list. Here's my take on that. No, I'm not really going to address Marc's stuff, and I'm not going to hang out with him or anything. I know he wants me to, but the point is, Marc does what he does. I feel like watching his list, I feel like he does it for attention. Right? He does it for attention. He enjoys the attention he gets from doing some of the form and things that he does. But because of that, because I am very big on people training correctly, and everything else, I'm obviously not really going to be associated with Marc. And while he's a nice enough guy, he seems like a nice guy, and I've chatted with him, I can't personally be associated with someone who does the things that he does for attention, like the way that he benches and he deadlifts and stuff. He has to know at this point that that's not correct ways to train. He knows that. I haven't got him to acknowledge that, but he does. And that's the thing. That's his shtick. I'm pretty sure because he doesn't seem to be open to changing it dramatically, even when I've suggested it to him, that I think he does it because he wants the attention. He likes the attention, and he knows that if he doesn't do something dramatic like that, people aren't going to take notice. And so he uses the pretty much, I actually told him the most horrific bench press form I've ever seen in my life. But I think he does it for attention because people come by to see it. They want to see the novelty of it, and it's an attention thing. And I think he enjoys that attention and everything else. And so his channel might grow because of that. And if he does, then more power to him. But me personally, I really can't be associated with that sort of training. I can't, because it's going to hurt people. It's not good training. It's not proper training. And I'm into people using at least correct technique and form, and people doing things through full ranges of motion and all of that, you know. And he seems to be very big on short range of motion partials and using actual training methods that are going to hurt most people. And he's lucky that he gets away with it, you know. He's lucky he gets away with it, and he does. And I wish him all the best, though. He does seem like a legitimately nice person, though. Like, I don't dislike him in any way. But I do think that what he does on his channel, he does for attention. And again, it's just not the sort of antics I, as someone who is promoting strength training, can really, you know, be associated with. But he does love lifting. He's passionate about lifting, and he seems to follow all the big names, and he's very involved in following all the big names and people in powerlifting. And so he enjoys that. And so, you know, I wish him nothing but the best of luck. But that's probably about all I'm going to say on the matter. You know, there's nothing else to really address there. All right, next question. Lok'Tar Ogar. Greetings, Orc Warrior. I've been running a minimalist 3-day full body program. I'm eating to gain weight. All my lifts are increasing fast. However, the press is constantly stalling/regressing, and it's so frustrating. What advice could you provide for novices who struggle to progress on the press? Thanks. Well, the thing you've got to remember with the press, usually we're doing press later in the workout, right? Almost every single full body program, the press is going to be second, third, maybe even the fourth exercise in your day. So you're fatigued to some extent. Also, what you need to keep in mind is that the press itself is a very, very serious test of upper body strength, right? It's a very difficult lift. It's very easy to get fatigued on this lift. And because we're dealing with a lift that is a smaller weight than a lot of the other big lifts, the same weight jumps aren't possible. So in other words, you might be increasing by 5 pounds easily at different points on a squat because you're working with a much heavier weight. On a press, a 5-pound jump is a much larger percentage of the weight. So the best advice I can give there is to micro load it more. In other words, the press is one of those exercises you might benefit from micro loading, using micro plates, right? That's what you need to do. Now, I see a lot of guys will say silly stuff like, well, if I plateau, I'll go to a push press. Well, if you go to a push press, you're going to get weaker out of the bottom. It's just going to stick on your chest, the weight later. If you do get better at the push press with a heavier weight, it's not going to give you the carryover. What I would say, if you're stalling on the press, the first thing you need to address is micro loading, right? You need to also have realistic assessments on how you can actually progress on this exercise. Is your progression rate realistic in terms of percentages compared to something like your squat or deadlift or even your bench? It's a smaller exercise in terms of weight use. So when you start looking at it in percentages, you might be doing better than you think. The other thing to think about is there is a certain technique involved with the press. The press is, a lot of times we think of, oh man, that's almost a brute strength lift because you're standing on your feet and it's a strict press over your head, right? It really isn't, though. There's a finesse aspect to it. A lot of times you bleed energy on that lift, and sometimes your stalls are because you're just bleeding energy with bad technique, meaning you're maybe not laying back at the bottom. So you're getting a bar path that pulls you way out of the way, and you can't use the primary movers as effectively. Or you might not be moving the bar through the correct path once you clear your head. Just as you start to clear your head, the bar path shifts on the press. So that's something that you should look at also. If you're struggling with the lift, you need to make sure that your body movement and your bar path are ideal on this exercise if you're stalling on it a lot. So it might be something you can just fine tune with your bar path. But those are the general advice I give on the press. Just keep in mind, you're going to progress slower on it in terms of total pounds, even if percentages are doing better. So micro loading and getting smaller micro plates is a real good idea on this exercise. They'll serve you well because it needs smaller adjustments. And also make sure that you are using the proper bar path, right? Bar path matters a lot on this exercise. Almost everyone who has a really strong press, you will notice that they have their bar path dialed in pretty good. And again, that's something I could probably talk about later a little bit. All right, next question. What's your opinion on Mac Truck getting involved with Marc Snake Oil Lobliner and Mike Fart Powder Rashid? I didn't know he was getting involved with them. I don't have any personal beefs with Mac Truck. He's always treated me with respect. I've treated him with respect. We might have disagreements on certain training philosophies and everything else, and I'm sure we do, but he comes from a different background than I do in regards to that. There's no disrespect there. I'm unaware that he's getting involved with these guys. If he is, I think in a certain level, it's kind of a sad thing because you guys know how I feel about snake oil salesmen. And I certainly hope he's not going to get involved in selling a bunch of scam supplements. But by that same token, if he's trying to make a living on his outreach, and for a lot of people, it's hard to build their outreach. Not everyone gets this sort of views. Not everyone is pulling in enough money to live off their YouTube and their internet outreach. And so they branch into these other things, trying to make money off of it. And I get it, man. I get it. Money's nice. It is nice to make money. I enjoy making money off of what I do. All right. I enjoy it. Hey, I like those paychecks. But, by that same token, there comes a point where you have to say, what am I willing to do and not willing to do? Like for me personally, could I pay my bills off the informative content alone? Probably, but it wouldn't be nearly as much as I make with all the current events and the drama, right? So, obviously I do those things because they draw in money and because I can correct people away from the snake oil and the bullshit and stuff. But let's be honest, the entertainment aspect of this is for money. The informative helps people. But a lot of these platforms are entertainment platforms. So a lot of times we have to do different things besides just give good information, to make the money we'd like to make. And maybe that's what he's having to do, and I think it's unfortunate if he's going to have to go that route to do it. I would rather see him jump in some controversy and stir some shit up rather than sell supplements. I think he's got the personality to, stir some shit up and make money off of that. And I would much rather see him do that than go into selling supplements. But I don't know what it is he's going to be associated with selling. But if that's what he's having to do, I think that's unfortunate. And of course, I'm not going to support that or back him on doing that. At the end of the day, though, there's no beef between Mack Truck and I. There just really isn't. I don't think there needs to be, unless he starts deliberately conning people out of their money later, which I don't know. Maybe you guys keep me in the loop. This is the first I've heard about this. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.